What if I told you that giving your own mother a ride to the grocery store next month could land you in state prison for 5 years? Or that simply walking into a hospital with a fever could trigger your immediate deportation? Next month, Florida is unleashing a set of deportation laws so aggressive, they are expected to turn over 800,000 everyday residents into instant criminals overnight. And no, I am not just talking about undocumented immigrants. Even U.S. citizens and green card holders are directly in the crosshairs. Entire neighborhoods are already packing up in the dead of night. Businesses are bracing for a catastrophic collapse, and local police are being handed the ultimate power to ruin your life over a broken taillight. If you live, work, or rent in Florida, the countdown has started. Stick around, because the #1 law on this list will absolutely terrify you. Number 1, the housing trap. Let's kick things off with the most immediate threat to your daily life: the housing market. Starting next month, renting an apartment or a house in Florida is going to feel like crossing a strict federal border checkpoint. Why? Because the state is essentially forcing local property owners to act as uncompensated immigration officers, and the penalties for making a mistake are absolutely life-destroying. Under this aggressive new legal framework, if a landlord or property manager is caught knowingly renting a unit to someone without verified legal immigration status, it is no longer treated as a simple civil issue or a minor fine. They are now staring down the barrel of a severe third-degree felony charge. We are talking about up to 5 years in state prison, permanent criminal records, and massive financial ruin just for signing a standard residential lease agreement. Because landlords are absolutely terrified of losing their freedom, they are adopting extreme, hyper-aggressive screening tactics to protect themselves. The days of simply showing a recent pay stub and handing over a security deposit are officially over. Property managers are now demanding a ridiculous mountain of paperwork before they will even let you tour an available property. You will need to provide verified social security numbers, flawless background checks, valid passports, and heavily scrutinized work visas. But here is the most sickening part of this entire trap: the collateral damage. Even if you are a born and raised U.S. citizen, if you have a foreign-sounding last name, a slight accent, or a specific ethnic background, expect to face intense, borderline illegal discrimination. Landlords are so deeply paranoid about undercover stings that they will outright reject perfectly legal, highly qualified applicants just to avoid any microscopic risk. Number 2, the out-of-state license trap. Let's say you're just visiting family, or maybe you recently moved down to Florida to start a new job. You have a valid driver's license in your wallet, so you assume you are perfectly safe, right? Think again. Starting next month, Florida is launching a direct, unapologetic attack on out-of-state drivers. If you hold a driver's license from specific states that issue IDs to undocumented immigrants, states like Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, and a rapidly growing list of others, Florida is officially classifying your physical ID as completely worthless. Picture this. You are simply driving to work or dropping your kids off at school. You get pulled over for something as incredibly minor as a broken taillight, a rolled stop sign, or going 5 miles over the speed limit. Under normal circumstances anywhere else in the country, you get a quick warning or a simple ticket, and you go on with your day. But under this aggressive new legal framework, you are legally driving a vehicle without a license. The police officer is now required by state law to pull you out of the vehicle. Your car is instantly impounded, potentially leaving your family stranded on the side of the highway. You are placed in the back of a squad car, booked into the local county jail, and your information is immediately flagged for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. And the absolute craziest part? This is creating a massive nightmare for everyone, not just immigrants. Car rental agencies are panicking, auto insurance companies are denying accident claims left and right, and legal U.S. residents are getting caught in the crossfire just for holding an ID from the wrong state. Florida lawmakers are essentially weaponizing routine traffic stops, turning every single highway into a high-stakes federal checkpoint. Number 3, the verified death grip. If you think your job is safe, you need to hear this. For years, businesses in Florida have relied on a massive, hard-working labor force to keep the economy afloat. But starting next month, the state is dropping a nuclear bomb on the job market. For any private business with 25 or more employees, running every single new hire through the federally Verify system is no longer just a suggestion. It is an absolute, non-negotiable mandate. And the state is not playing around with enforcement. Florida is doubling down on aggressive, zero-tolerance audits next month. If a company gets caught hiring undocumented workers, or even just making a careless clerical error on the E-Verify portal, they aren't just getting hit with a standard warning or a small fine. The state will suspend or completely revoke their business license. Imagine spending your entire life building a successful restaurant, landscaping company, or construction firm, only to have the government forcibly shut your doors forever over one employee's paperwork. Because business owners are absolutely terrified of losing their livelihoods. Intense panic has already set in. We are seeing a massive, heartbreaking wave of preemptive mass firings across the state. Loyal employees who have been working quietly at the same company for a decade are being let go with zero notice. The construction, hospitality, and agriculture sectors are staring down the barrel of an overnight labor collapse. Crops are literally going to rot in the fields because there is no one left to harvest them. Hotels won't have the staff to clean rooms, and multi-million-dollar housing developments will grind to a screeching halt. The state is actively triggering its own economic crisis, and everyday workers are the ones paying the ultimate price. Number 4. Driving your family is a felony. Let's talk about loyalty, compassion, and family. Imagine getting a phone call from your own mother, your sister, or your childhood best friend. They need a ride across the state line into Florida for a family gathering or a medical appointment. You do what any loving person would do. You get in your car, pick them up, and drive them home. But starting next month, that simple, everyday act of kindness could completely destroy your life and lock you behind bars. This is arguably the most terrifying and extreme provision of this entire new legal framework. Under this aggressive crackdown, if you knowingly transport an undocumented immigrant across the Florida state border, you are no longer just breaking some minor civil code. The state of Florida will officially charge you with human smuggling. Let that sink in for a second. Human smuggling. This is classified as a severe third-degree felony, meaning you are staring directly at up to 5 years in a state penitentiary and thousands of dollars in crushing fines. And here is the truly shocking part that the mainstream news is barely talking about. It does not matter if you are a born and raised, tax-paying U.S. citizen. Your citizenship or green card will not protect you. If you give your undocumented cousin a lift from Georgia into Jacksonville, you are instantly treated as a high-level criminal. You could lose your voting rights, your career, and your freedom just for giving someone a ride in your own personal vehicle. Families are absolutely paralyzed by fear right now. Florida has essentially weaponized compassion, turning everyday citizens into felons just for looking out for their own blood. Drop a comment and tell me the brutal truth. Are you packing your bags or staying to fight? We pour weeks of research and sleepless nights into uncovering these legal traps to keep your family safe. So please hit that subscribe button. It's just one simple click for you, but it allows us to keep exposing the truth. Number 5. The hospital reporting requirement. What is the one place you should always feel perfectly safe, no matter who you are? A hospital. When you or a loved one are experiencing a life-threatening medical emergency, the absolute last thing you should be worrying about is federal immigration enforcement. But starting next month, Florida is crossing a line that many medical professionals consider to be completely unethical and incredibly dangerous. They are officially turning hospital waiting rooms into massive government data collection checkpoints. Under this shocking new mandate, any hospital in the state of Florida that accepts Medicaid funding is now legally required to interrogate patients about their exact immigration status on their official intake forms before they are admitted. Now, politicians and state officials are bending over backward to promise the public that this data won't be used to directly track individuals or deny immediate medical care. They swear it's just for statistical tracking. But let's be completely real. The chilling effect is already here, and the panic it has created is absolutely terrifying. Imagine being a parent with a severely asthmatic child who is desperately struggling to breathe in the middle of the night. Because of the sheer, paralyzing fear of filling out a government-mandated hospital form that could potentially flag their family for deportation, that parent might choose to stay home and try to ride it out instead of calling 911. People are terrified. Families are going to suffer through severe illnesses, chronic pain, and critical medical emergencies in total silence rather than risk walking through the automatic doors of a local ER. Florida is actively forcing vulnerable people to choose between getting life-saving medical treatment or keeping their families safely together. Number 6. The crackdown on old documents. Let's be completely honest for a second. Over the past decade, thousands of incredibly hardworking people have used alternative or borrowed social security numbers just to secure a basic job, put food on the table, and survive. They've been clocking in every single day, paying their fair share of taxes, and never causing a single ounce of trouble in their local communities. You might think that because so much time has passed, those old paperwork discrepancies are buried and forgotten. You would be absolutely dead wrong. Starting next month, Florida prosecutors are launching an unprecedented, scorched earth crackdown on old employment documents. The state is now aggressively cross-referencing local tax records with federal immigration databases, actively hunting down any mismatched numbers. If a state audit flags an old document you used 5, 10, or even 15 years ago, you are not just going to get a quiet pink slip and a warning from your HR department. This is turning into a full-blown criminal sting operation. We are talking about coordinated, humiliating arrests right in the middle of your workplace. You will be suddenly slapped with severe state-level document fraud charges, which instantly classify you as a high-risk criminal. But it actually gets worse, because state authorities are now working hand-in-glove with federal immigration enforcement. There is no drawn-out legal process or favorable plea deal waiting for you. The second you are booked into the county jail, ICE is directly notified, and you are immediately fast-tracked for deportation. Florida is literally weaponizing your past, turning a decade-old desperate mistake into a one-way ticket out of the country, no matter how much you have contributed to the economy. Number 7. Local police are now ICE agents. For decades, the fundamental rule of local law enforcement was simple: protect and serve the community. If you were the victim of a crime, or if you witnessed a robbery, you could call the police without fearing that the officers showing up to help would secretly run your immigration status. But starting next month, that vital community trust is being completely shattered. Florida is officially turning its local sheriffs and city police departments into direct extensions of federal immigration enforcement. The state has enacted an absolute, uncompromising ban on sanctuary cities. What does this actually mean for you? It means that every single time you interact with local law enforcement, you are rolling the dice with your freedom. If you are pulled over for a minor traffic violation, involved in a basic fender bender, or even if you are mistakenly detained for matching a suspect's description, your fingerprints and biometric data are immediately and automatically scanned through federal ICE databases. Local police are no longer allowed to use their own discretion, write you a simple ticket, and send you on your way. If the system flags your status, local county jails are now legally mandated to honor federal immigration detainers. They will physically lock you in a cell and hold you long past your release time until federal ICE agents can arrive to take you into custody. The real-world consequence of this is absolutely terrifying. Domestic violence victims and witnesses to violent crimes are going to suffer in total silence, completely terrified that dialing 911 will end up tearing their own families apart. Florida is essentially forcing local cops to abandon community safety in favor of aggressive federal deportation tracking. Number 8. The ban on community IDs. Imagine not being able to prove who you are when you go to pick up your own child from elementary school. For a long time, local counties and cities in Florida understood how incredibly dangerous it is to have massive portions of their population living completely off the grid. To fix this, they created a vital lifeline: community IDs. These locally issued identification cards allowed undocumented immigrants and marginalized residents to do basic, everyday human tasks, like open a simple bank account, sign a lease, or prove their address to local authorities during an emergency. It was a local, compassionate solution to keep the community safe and accounted for. But starting next month, the state of Florida is aggressively ripping that lifeline away. In a brand new, highly controversial update, state lawmakers have passed a blanket ban completely prohibiting any local government, city council, or police department from accepting these community IDs. If you present one of these cards to a local official next month, they are legally mandated to reject it and treat you as if you have zero identification whatsoever. This is not just an administrative change. This is a systematic erasure of human identity. Florida is actively forcing hundreds of thousands of hardworking people back into the darkest shadows of society. Without a recognized physical ID, you cannot legally identify yourself during a crisis, you cannot access critical local resources, and your everyday existence is essentially criminalized. It is an absolute nightmare scenario for mixed-status families who thought they finally had a tiny shred of security. With one stroke of a pen, the state has rendered their identities completely useless, making them legally invisible and instantly vulnerable to immediate federal deportation. Number 9. Lawful permanent residents are not safe. There is a massive, incredibly dangerous misconception floating around Florida right now. Thousands of people honestly believe that because they are lawful permanent residents, meaning they hold a valid government-issued green card, they are completely immune to this upcoming crackdown. But starting next month, that false sense of security could be the exact thing that gets you permanently deported. Here is the terrifying reality. Under this new aggressive framework, state prosecutors and federal immigration enforcement are working hand in hand to drastically expand the definition of criminal conduct. They are intentionally blurring the lines so that every day, minor infractions can be heavily scrutinized and legally reclassified as aggravated felonies or crimes involving moral turpitude under federal immigration standards. What does that actually look like in the real world? It means that a minor drug possession charge, a heated domestic dispute that got out of hand, or even a simple misdemeanor shoplifting charge from your past can now trigger an immediate, catastrophic immigration hold. Because Florida has stripped away all sanctuary protections and forced local police to cooperate directly with ICE, a basic arrest no longer ends with you simply posting bail and going home to your family. Instead, you are locked in a county jail cell while the federal government actively moves to strip you of your legal residency. Once that green card is revoked, you are placed into mandatory federal detention, often with absolutely zero chance of a plea deal or legal relief. We are talking about people who have lived in the United States legally for decades, who own homes and have U.S. citizen children. One minor mistake, and the life you spent 30 years building is erased overnight. Number 10. The statewide economic and community collapse. When you take all of these aggressive new laws and slam them into effect at the exact same time next month, what do you get? A total, catastrophic collapse of the state's economy and its community fabric. Florida is about to learn a very painful lesson about how heavily it relies on the exact people it is actively trying to push out. Right now, in the dead of night, entire neighborhoods are quietly packing up their cars and fleeing across state lines. They aren't waiting around to see what happens next month. Because of this massive, sudden exodus, the economic domino effect is going to be absolutely devastating. Think about the major industries that keep Florida running. Billions of dollars in crops are going to literally rot in the fields because farm owners cannot find a single person willing to harvest them. Massive, multi-million-dollar housing developments and commercial construction sites will be completely abandoned halfway through. Small businesses, local restaurants, and landscaping companies are going to be forced to board up their windows and permanently shut down because their entire workforce just evaporated overnight. But beyond the missing tax revenue and the collapsing supply chains, there is a brutal human cost that the mainstream media is completely ignoring. U.S. citizen children are going to come home from school to empty houses because their parents were arrested at work. Elderly family members will be left without caretakers. Mixed-status families are being violently ripped apart, and the psychological trauma being inflicted on these local communities is unforgivable. Florida isn't just deporting people. It is actively destroying its own foundation. We have just walked through 10 of the most aggressive, life-altering laws ever passed in modern American history, and every single one of them takes effect next month. This is no longer just a political debate on the evening news. This is about basic human survival in the state of Florida. Whether you are a property landlord, a small business owner, a born and raised U.S. citizen, or an undocumented worker, the devastating ripple effects of this massive crackdown are going to crash right through your front door. The state is actively choosing to sacrifice its own local economy, its agricultural industry, and its communities just to send a brutal, unforgiving message. If you or someone you care about is living in Florida right now, ignorance is no longer an excuse. It is a dangerous trap. You absolutely cannot afford to just wait and see how this plays out. You need to get your documents in order, consult with a licensed, reputable immigration attorney immediately, and know exactly what your constitutional rights are before you even think about getting behind the wheel of a car. Right now, knowledge is the only shield you have left to protect your family. Now, I need to hear from you down in the comments. Do you think these aggressive new laws are a necessary step to protect the state? Or is Florida about to completely destroy its own economy and tear apart innocent families for no reason? Sound off below, because this is a conversation we desperately need to have. If this video opened your eyes to the harsh reality that the mainstream media is ignoring, hit that like button right now. It pushes this urgent warning out into the algorithm so others can prepare. Share this video with your family, your friends, and your coworkers today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss my next critical legal breakdown. Stay sharp, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.